And nobody got the backside slap more than I did. It's a wonder I ever had one to sit down on. That's true.
Yeah, and that was in Oribus.
Yes, I was born by the canal. Do you know where Gaskell's Bridge is?
Mm.
Oh, well, you know down the yard, there was 2 houses. And then he made it into one. He shouldn't have had both houses, though, because there was Charlie and Nan lived in the one house, and we lived in the other. And Nan took to me as a baby because my mum was so ill. Anyway, she always taught me to call her Nan. But Charlie, I mean, they weren't married. There was nothing like that between them. You knew that. Charlie bought one house and Nan bought the other because they had another lad, Les Dolman, but he was 12 when he went. And so one house was left to me and one to Les. But when Nan died, Charlie had the shock of his life. I've never, ever seen him so cross because he couldn't understand how she'd managed to alter his signature and to leave both houses to him. That's true, as true as I'm sitting here. But I said to him, don't worry, Charlie. What you never have, you never miss. I was with Nan when she died. And damn me, I looked after Charlie. I used to go around and see to him. I was with him when he died. And they had this damn grandfather clock. It always used to chime the hour at 5 minutes to. The morning Nan died, it chimed 5. Just chiming 5. And the morning Charlie died, it was just chiming 6.
Oh.
It's true, but I loved them both. The only thing was, Nan was strict with me, but she wasn't with Les. But he didn't used to get in trouble like me. See, my mum was Church of England and Nan was a Methodist. So, Sunday school morning and afternoon, but the evening, you'd got to go to chapel. That was all right, but one night, I just wouldn't go to chapel, would I? No way. And anyway, there was a balk. I don't know whether this wooden balk is still there now. But I used to get on my hands and knees every Saturday morning, as little as I was. I only had a small bucket, but I still had my jobs to do. And I used to have to get the oldest water out, swill all the bricks at the front, just get it out, and then go and swill all the bricks, both houses round the back, every Saturday morning. I stood on that balk, and you're not going to believe me. I just went head first in. Just like that. Well, Mum had gone to church, Nan had gone to chapel, and I kept thinking, I hope my mum comes back first. I knew I'd get a walloping. But anyway, all of a sudden I saw Nan coming down that yard. I can see her now. As plain, and she came straight up to me and she said, yes, my girl, Jesus knew you wouldn't go to chapel tonight, and that's a judgment on you. And you know what? I believed her. But I was ready to go to chapel on Sunday night after that. It was better than falling in the canal. So I'll leave you to go. Guess what sort I've been?
Yeah.
Horrible. Terrible. Terrible. I mean, I said to Les, the last time I saw that place, Les, you want to do something about that bank? And I'm going back some years. He said, why? I said, because the canal's taken it. It hasn't, he says. I said, Les, it has. Don't try and tell me it hasn't. I said, our Bill used to have a damn great big pigeon pen along there. He said he couldn't have. I said, I know damn well he did. And furthermore, we had a curly-haired retriever, a black one. And it was Sweep's kennel all under this big pigeon pen. Anyway, one day they'd lost me. Needless to say, they couldn't find me till they went round by the kennel, and Sweep snarled at them. There was I in there fast asleep. So needless to say, I got a big walloping then than ever when they got me out. I never went to sleep in his kennel again.
So you got up to some tricks, didn't you?
Oh, that wasn't all of them. I could sit down and write a book.
Perhaps you should.
No, that's what they've told me, times out of number, but no, I wouldn't.
No.
But yes, the things I used to get up to. I know one thing, the Bobby used to kick your backside if he caught you doing something wrong. And it was on a Saturday morning, we'd done all the jobs, and then because I was the youngest and if they all went off, the lads, I used to bother them. So they went into Dark Lane, through a hole in the hedge, into Mellor's orchard. I don't know who lives there now. They went, I followed them. I couldn't reach a damned apple or anything. Anyway, I looked all round, they'd all gone. So I thought they'd left me. So I went scurrying out under this hole in the hedge, and all of a sudden somebody picked me up with the scruff of my neck and kicked my backside, and to this day I swear his boots were that big. It was the Bobby. But you don't go home and tell your mum, because if you did, you get another wallop because you're doing something you shouldn't be. But I never, ever, all my life, did ever I go scrumping again. So it taught me a lesson. So you know, I've been a holy devil.
Yeah. Tell me about meeting
My
the
husband.
first time you met your husband, what you were doing and where you were and things like that.
Oh God, what the hell was his name? Oh dear. We were up past, oh crikey, Bill. It's there on the tip of my tongue. I could see him. What the devil was his name now? They were the most miserable lot of families. Grundy's was the name, at Whittingtonhurst. Well, there used to be a song called Solomon Grundy, born on Monday, christened on Tuesday, so forth. And the old man heard me and he threatened me. But I couldn't care less. And anyway, I was bailing there, and my boss was Jack Jones at the time. And he'd left me with the baler. I used to work the baler, he'd gone off somewhere else. And in those days, you fastened the bales in the baler with wire. I mean, today it's all like string or plastic. And anyway, Fred was carrying bales. And all of a sudden I saw his back. And his back was all bleeding. So he went to take one and I made him leave it. And I went after Grundy himself and I said, look, you either get someone else to carry those bales or I'm packing up and I'm going. I told Jack Jones of you. I said, you can tell Jack Jones what the hell you like, but I know he'll agree with me because he wouldn't have had it either. So eventually, I wouldn't let any more go through. He decided, yes, he'd better get somebody else, so he did. And so what did I do? I hardly put anything in the bales, so it would cost him a heck of a lot more money because wire was very expensive. So I had my own back on him that way. But anyway, there was so much more to do in the field, and they'd got some milking to do, like they got a few cows. So they went off and Fred went with them. He came back, and he came back with a thin slice of dry bread and half an egg. And I looked at him and I said, "What's that for?" He said, "That's my tea, but," he said, "I bought it for you." I said, "No, you eat your tea. I shall have my tea when I get home." And from then on, that was it. Well, eventually, he was free. He could please himself, like he could move from farm to farm. And he got moved further away, that was it. And I mean, he couldn't have come to see me on his bicycle, that was for sure. So I thought I wouldn't see him again. Anyway, in the end I got engaged to another chap, but he upset me. Told me I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that. So I got my ring off, threw it at him. Turned to my mother, he said, "If I don't marry Dorothy, I'll never marry." I said, "No, that's up to you." But I turned round and said, "But nobody'd have you anyway." And after that, he never did marry. He died, a lonely old man. Oh, well, then I decided I'd had enough of farming and I went on the railway. And I used to do the Bradford-Bristol run. And I met a guard. And he, I suppose, I don't know, talked to me, and I wasn't really keen. But he was, how can I explain? Everything got to be done what he wanted done, not how you wanted it or anything. Anyway, he persuaded me to get engaged, and I did. But underneath, there was that something. He bought a house, furnished it, never asked me whether I liked it, and I'll never forget it. We were supposed to be getting married at the June. This was the Easter. I'd been over and I said to him on the Monday morning, "Oh, by the way, Sid, I'm going home early today." He said, "Oh, you Dorothy, why?" I said, "Because there's a whist drive and dancing all around us tonight and I'm going." And he stood there with his hands on his hips and he looked at me and he said, "You know, Dorothy, when you're married to me, you will go out when I take you." "Shall I?" Off came my ring, I threw it at him, I'd got my bag and I was back on Gloucester Station. Him after me, but it was no going back. 2 weeks later, I was at a dance and guess what? Fred walked in and he says, "I've come back to find you, chick." I never ever got my name. That was the only thing he ever called me. All his life. No, it was, we were together. I wish I'd got him now. I still miss him. I do. But I know the night before we were married, the next morning, he turned to my mum and he said, "Look, if I can't earn enough in the daytime to keep her, I will work day and night." And he kept to his promise. So I can't grumble, can I? Are you satisfied now?
So you worked in farming, did you?
I did.
Tell me about leaving school and starting work.
I went on a farm. I went to Hills. And I used to milk the cows there. They'd got 2 chaps, but they were too damn dirty. They were too idle to wash the cows before they milked them. And he'd started getting into, well, he did in those days. Anyway, there was 129, I'll never forget it. And he always used to call me my wench. And going, and he'd just bought 4 milking units. I mean, which was a big thing in those days. Anyway, and all of a sudden he came in this particular morning and you got this girl and he says, "Yeah, my wench, I bought your helpmate." I said, "Thank God for that. It's about time somebody else came and did something towards the milking." So I said to her, "Well, will you put that unit on that next cow then, my dear? I have washed her." I daren't. looked at her. So I said, well, will you go back through and strip those off? I daren't. I thought, oh, temper was beginning to brew. And I said to her, well, if that's it, you better carry up. But don't let the churns run over, because if you do, he will be mad. So I kept finishing the milk, and she carried up, and she came and she said, I've finished then, Dorothy, and I haven't let a churn run over. I said, thank God for that. I'd better go and see what you have done. So anyway, I went down and I thought, oh, I was blazing. She'd only half filled the churns. So I got to empty them to fill the churns up. But I'd also got to wash those churns and sterilise them again, ready for night. I was not best pleased. So I went back up to the cowshed again, because I got to start cleaning out then. And she came in, she said, I shouldn't have done it. I really shouldn't. Is there any more to milk, Dorothy? And I was in such a temper. I never laughed. And I said, only the bull. She stood there and she looked at me. She said, well, how'd you milk the bull? I said, how the hell do you think? You stick a bucket under his belly and you pump his tail. Never dreaming she'd go. Oh, the next thing I heard, crash, bang, wallop, out she came, out the bucket came and everything else. And so did the boss come across the yard. He took one look at me, he says, God's for you, my wench, on Friday. I said, thank you. And he went off laughing his head off. It wasn't me that went, it was her. And she comes from college, supposed to have been taught all about farming. So I got rid of her anyway. And then when I left, he cried. He says, you're not leaving me, are you, my wench? I says, I am. I've had enough. It was long hours, 6 in the morning till 6 at night, 6 days a week, 6 on a Sunday morning till 10, 3 till 6 on a Sunday afternoon, and you got a Sunday afternoon off a month. They wouldn't do it today. But I tell you what, there wasn't the illnesses about as there is today. But the animals were fed naturally. They're not today. It's all, what shall I say, artificial stuff. Mm. So that was my life.
Anybody listening won't really know that Fred was a German prisoner of war.
Oh, don't you kid yourself on.
Well, they won't, because they won't know you. So could you just explain that to us?
Well, yes. While we were courting, it wasn't too bad. But after we got married, my husband wouldn't dance and he wouldn't learn to dance. He used to say, no, chick, you go with Daisy, because her husband wouldn't dance either. So we used to go together then, after I was married. And we'd just gone through the Oddfellows Hall door, and this Mr. Jones stood there. And he stood there and he came up to me. He says, fancy you marrying a bloody German. I never thought. And I nearly swiped him off his feet. Oh, we went back, holding his face. He says, the policeman's in there and I'm fetching him. I said, go fetch him now. So he did. Bobby came. He said, what's the trouble? So I told him. And he went straight across to Mr. Jones. He said, now, if it had been me, you'd have got it on both sides, not one. Now get out and don't ever come back again. But he never ever said a word to me after. Now, it was funny, but Fred was very well liked. He never interfered. He was quiet. You see, he was a qualified dog trainer for obedience. My husband was. He qualified for that. And we'd always had an Alsatian. And I know Mary Jones, she used to say to me, Dorothy, Tell your husband not to go training your dog on a Sunday morning because I can't ever get dressed. I'm always just getting up. And I can't get dressed till he's finished. I can't help but watch him. I said, well, I'm sorry. But it's not much. He'd still do that. And he did until the day we lost her. But then, what was it, 59? Had my first dose of cancer. I think we had 59. Stomach, I'd got in my stomach anyway. And I know my little boy had got chicken pox. The whole school had had it. They'd all got over it. He never had it. I thought he'd missed it. You're not going to believe it. He had it worse than any of them. Oh, anyway, the doctor came out to him. That's how ill he was. And my husband said to him, I can hear him now, and what about my wife? And the doctor said, well, what do you mean, Mr. Huber? He said, well, I'm telling you, she hasn't. She can't keep the thing down. Which I couldn't. He said, well, she'd better come and see me. He said, well, you tell her. I said, well, you've seen me now. Anyway, the next thing I knew, I was at the hospital. I saw the head man, and they told me he'd got to operate. If it didn't operate, he couldn't give me above 6 months. That was Mr. Buick. So I'd got a choice. I'd got a baby, a little lad, and I went, but I was a skeleton when I came out. But trust me, I managed to pick myself up again. Well, then I decided I wanted animals. Well, I couldn't have animals where I was. No room for animals, no nothing. And this place came up for sale. So we went and looked over it, and he said there was no water laid on, no electricity or gas laid on. It was paraffin lamps and a pump. And my husband says to me, well, what do you think, chick? Because it'd be hard work. Well, I dealt with them before now. I said, what do you think we had when I was a kid? Paraffin lamps and pump. There was no tap water. We bought it. We worked hard. We bought 1 or 2 pigs and some poultry. I started off with pigs and poultry till the fox came. And worked our way up. He still went to work. I used to look after everything. And did all right. And then, I think, was it 1971? I think it was. Now the 1970. He came home from work, and I said, you're home early? He said, yes, I'm taking you somewhere. Come on. I said, where? Get your jacket on. You're coming with me. And it wasn't like him to be bossy. So I didn't feel very well, or otherwise I would have chucked him off. Anyway, I landed up at the doctor's. And I'm afraid the doctor turned around and told him straight away. He says, Mr. Huber, I'll tell you straight, you either make her get rid of all those pigs, or else you can put her 6 foot under. And in a week, I hadn't got a thing. Not a boiler, not a bin, not a bucket, nothing. The lot had gone. And that cracked me up. But sure enough, yes, I'd got stomach cancer again. But I got through it.
Change the tape.
I've been taping all I've said.
No, not all of it. Okay.
Has he?
Yeah,
Have
yes, I
you?
know. I might have done.
Yeah, tell me about what you can I call you Dorothy?
Of course you can.
Right, Dorothy.
That's my name.
Yes, yeah. Tell me about what you remember about dancers during the war.
Heavens forbid. Well, we used to have the shilling hop. It was called the bob hop at the Oddfellows Hall. We used to have Pendleton's band there. They used to come every week. They came from Yorkshire. But they were a wonderful little band they were. And if they had a whist driving dance, which they often did, after they would have a bigger band from somewhere. But I mean, it never finished before 1. But yes, they used to be lovely. I don't know. I went to Lichfield and I won certificates for ballroom dancing, and I'd never had been learned a step in my life. Never. Yet I used to teach all the lads in Ulruas how to dance. This one I still remembers very well. And there were happy times. I mean, used to go in the hall, there'd be a fire at that side at this end, and then the other fire would be at that end at that side. And we used to really enjoy it. Well, then the RAF started coming from the aerodrome, and some of them were all right, but some were a bit toffee-nosed. I couldn't care less about any of them anyway. I know there was this one great big tall, he was a tall man. And I mean, I wasn't that tall. You see, it was the Americans that brought the jitterbugging over. And of course they picked it up, didn't they? And they used to slide you through the legs and catch you. Oh yeah, they did. Miss me. And I went straight down. Up I got. Temper. I wouldn't dance with him again. I wasn't having no more. And then what happened after that? Well, the Americans used to come, but they were quite well behaved. Better behaved than the Air Force, I'll tell you, because they hadn't used to get drunk like the Air Force men did. They were terrible. And there I used to be a devil again, because there was one woman in the village. I mean, I wasn't married then, but this woman was. She got a very nice husband and 2 lovely boys. And she used to try and get off with these airmen. And they used to say, "Hey up, Dorothy, she's got another one." There's always a quick step. And they always used to have, "Excuse me," quick steps. "Go on." And if looks as a kill, she'd have killed me stone dead. I think she got fed up with me in the end. But she still kept trying, but still kept ticking them off her. And as I say, one night it went on and it went. They were really happy times, because people knew one another. And there was one chap in particular, Mr. Wood, Charlie Wood. He was a tiny little round fat chap, but I'll tell you this much, he was as light as a feather on his feet. Oh, and as soon as they started to play an old-time waltz, made a beeline. That was all right, but then nobody else got up. And then when it was finished, they'd start clapping. And he used to say, "There's nobody can dance like you, Dorothy." And he truthfully was. He was the most beautiful dancer and as light as a feather on his feet. And I was no small being. I mean, I'm not like I am now. I've never been like it. But, yeah, and we had really, really wonderful times. I mean, they used to have, at the back where we first went in, like, you'd have a bit of a break and you could go and get a sandwich, cake and a cup of tea. at the back. You used to pay for it. Everybody was friendly though. There wasn't this cutthroat business apart from me and this woman. But the others used to edge me on. So you couldn't altogether blame me, could you? No, and then going home, well, it was after 1 o'clock. And I wasn't married then. And there was the four of us, Kath Dolman, Peggy Bates and Sheila Bates, and we were going home. And the hedge used to, well, it was called Back Lane, it's Furlong Lane now. You'd have a high piece, if you know what I mean, and then it'd be low, and high and low. All of a sudden, it was brilliant moonlight. You saw this along this low piece, and all of a sudden, I think Peggy let out such a scream. All of a sudden, this chap stood up and swore at us and told us it was only the Home Guards on duty, out on, practising. But it frightened the life out of me. And I mean, I wasn't the frightened type. Then I took them 3 home and then I had to go back home on my own. So I was a devil, but I didn't care. I hadn't got a clue in the world. I couldn't care less about it.
You were telling me something about being taken to dances somewhere.
It was Mr. Yeah, that was him, the little fat chap.
Charlie Wood?
Yeah, he had this big old taxi. And if we went out to, say, Kingsbromley or Yoxall or Eddingale or the other side, Kerborough, he'd take us in the taxi but then he'd stay while we were there, and then he'd bring us all back. And he was ever so good. He used to drop us all off at home. We used to have the time of our lives. I mean, they were only about a shilling up, because we didn't have a lot of money to spend. None of us. I mean, I didn't, and the others didn't either. But we used to really enjoy it. I mean, they've lost all. How can I explain it? The friendliness. It isn't there anymore. No. I mean, in Albury was, when I was young, nobody ever locked a door. You could go to town and come back. I wouldn't think of locking your door. But you wouldn't dare do it now. That's the difference. I wouldn't know Albury was now anyway. I mean, I was mad when I found out that, what's her name? Diane Dark Lane had shut that footpath. It was an open footpath, and it had been, well, all my life, because, I mean, being Pam, and kids, we used to go down with our dolls, because there was a big patch down there opposite Statham's Piggeries. And we used to play hours down there. It was just nobody's land. And May's house used to be here. Then there was this, you used to go through this little narrow gullyway, took you into the bottom of the dock. And mind you, when the plums or damsons, and if they hung over, we had used to just sneak a view as we went along. Mrs. May, if she caught us, she'd play how. But I mean, she never attempted to stop us because she knew she couldn't. It was a proper pathway for everybody, and always had been. So how can this person that bought May's house stop it? I can't understand it. There was that there, and then just a bit further there was a gate into Dyer's Field. And then the houses in the dark backed onto the field. Oh yeah.
Just going back to dancers, didn't you tell me something about being taken in transport to...
Oh yes, to the Americans. They used to come with this truck thing, and they'd got like seats all round it, And he used to pick us up at the War Memorial, and they'd got like a stepladder thing they used to count you going in, shut you in. Can't think just where it was. That way on anyway. It wasn't Litchfield way. And opened the doors at the thing at the back, and there'd be the door into the dance place. They'd count you out again through the door. You were shut. The door was shut between the last one, behind like, and well, that was it. When it was time to go home, you were counted back on the truck, and then dropped off again at the War Memorial. They were quite good dudes, but I think it was because they didn't used to get many people that would go and dance with them, you know. That was why they bought a truck. And I suppose some of them had been out to Alderbrewis anyway. I used to enjoy it, we all did. I never fell for a German, an American though. One did fall for me, but didn't do any good. So I didn't get involved with him.
Was it Sudbury?
You got it. Yes. The postman's just been. He wonders who I've got at my house. Being nosy. Yeah. There was, yes, they had used to fetch us, but you were counted and back on again. Which was a good thing, really, wasn't it? Let's face it. Have you finished now?
You want us to have?
Yeah,
You sure?
I am.
Right.
Don't you think you've had enough?
I was going to ask you about rationing.
Oh.
Then we'll stop.
Well, we didn't get a lot. That's for certain. Little bits of this and little bits of that, but it was amazing what you learned. I mean, one way, if you'd had a bit of meat for your Sunday dinner and you'd only got a little bit of cold meat left, the thing was to boil a pan of potatoes, cream them down, peel some onions and chop them up, fry those, put your potato in, mix it up, fry all that all together. Then you get your little tiny bit of meat and you chop it up as small as you could and then sprinkle that and mix that in and you made your meat. Go a long, long way. And your batter, you didn't get the eggs, you used to make it with flour, a drop of vinegar and water, but you had to leave it thicker. But I tell you what, it used to make beautiful batter. If you could get a bit of luncheon meat or something like that, you'd make this batter, dip it in and fry it, do some vegetables and you've got a good cooked dinner. Oh yeah. You learnt lots and lots of things, I can tell you.
So, is there anything else that stands out for you about the war, about the village during the wartime?
Yeah, I remember them dropping the bomb nearly on Fradley Aerodrome. I damn well do, by God. And there used to be a chap there. Every time the bombers went over, because I mean you could tell the difference. You knew they were heading for Birmingham and what have you. And it was awful. And apparently he used to be outside flashing them with this big light he'd got, lamp. He got caught though, thank God. But not before they dropped that one. They weren't far off the aerodrome, but they weren't on it. No, I think that'll nerve people.
So who was he, the man flashing the light?
I can't think of his name now.
But he was helping the Germans.
Oh, he thought it was big, didn't he?
Oh.
He was a fool. Let's face it. You do get the odd ones, don't you? But no, I was never really, it was only that one time that I had any trouble over being married to a German. In fact, I remember the doctor, his wife, stopped me one day and she said, Dorothy, she says, we're holding a dance on our big lawn at the bank. Oh, I don't know, for something. I said, oh, are you? She says, will you come? I said, yeah. She says, bring that handsome husband of yours, will you? And I looked at her. I said, what are you talking about? She says, I've heard all about him, but I've never met him. Oh, well, I don't know whether he'll come or not. But anyway, I did persuade him to go. And I couldn't believe how friendly everybody was. And she came to me, she says, it's true what they said about him. He is a handsome man. I says, to me, he's just plain Fred, and Fred wasn't even his name. So there you go. When he was in the hospital, they put all his names up, and he wouldn't answer any of them. Not one. And they said to me, well, what do you call him? I said, Fred. So I had to put Fred, and he would just acknowledge him, not his other names.
No. What were they?
Ferdinand, Johann, Joseph. Yeah, but no. I nearly got my tongue in a rubble the morning we got married. He got too many names for me, but no, I managed it.
I'm sure you did.
But
Yeah.
I couldn't have, I can truthfully say, I could not have. Well, my mum, just before she died, she said to me, you know, Maddock, I didn't really want you to marry Fred because I was afraid. I was afraid he was going to cut you off the other side of the world, as she thought it was. But he told me that he never would. She says, but I'll tell you this, you've got the best husband of the lot of them. I mean, he never went off drinking or anything. And I've never drank in my life. Never. I was cross with him, though, just before we got married, because he grew this damn little Clark Gable moustache. And he wouldn't shave it off. So I went and had all my hair cut short. And I know he looked at me just before we got married and he says, well, there's one thing, Chick. I shall always know what I'm going to wake up to in the morning. I said, you damn cheeky devil. No, he said, it's true. I shall know you haven't got to get up and put your face on. Which I never did. Never have used makeup. So I don't think I've done so bad for my age now.
Very good, I think. Yeah.
There you are.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied now?
Yes, thank you. Are you?
I just knew I'm getting cramped in my back.
Right.
Hopefully.
Thank you very
I
much.
bet he is.